stop? What if the soil you've been buying is actually dead? Every year, millions of people spend money on bags of dirt, believing that growth comes from a store. But what if the richest soil on Earth can be created at home in just 30 days? In this video, you'll discover how to stop depending on commercial soil and start building real black soil, living soil, from what most people throw away. If you want healthier plants, stronger roots, and true gardening independence, stay until the end. And before we begin, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment black soil if you're ready to grow differently. Most people think soil is just ground up rock. Brown, dry, lifeless, something you step on. But real soil is not dirt. Dirt is what ends up on your shoes. Soil is what feeds civilizations. The difference is life. Imagine two kitchens. One is empty, clean counters, no ingredients, no smell, no activity. The other is alive. Vegetables being chopped, heat rising, flavors mixing, movement everywhere. That second kitchen is real soil. Black soil, the kind farmers dream about, is not black because of color alone. It's black because it's rich in organic matter, because it's full of decomposed life, because it holds moisture like a sponge and nutrients like a vault. And here's the secret most garden centers don't tell you. You cannot buy living soil in a plastic bag. You can buy a base, you can buy material, but life has to be built. When you open a bag of commercial soil, what you're mostly getting is processed material. It may help at first, but without a living system inside it, microbes, fungi, decomposing matter, it slowly becomes tired, like a battery losing charge. Real black soil works differently. It feeds itself. It holds water longer, meaning you water less. It releases nutrients slowly, meaning plants grow stronger. It builds structure, meaning roots spread deeper. And the best part? You already have everything you need to create it. Every banana peel, every coffee ground, every fallen leaf, every vegetable scrap. Most people see trash, but in nature, there is no trash. There is only transformation. Think about a forest. No one fertilizes it, no one tills it, no one buys soil for it, yet trees grow taller than buildings. Why? Because leaves fall, they decompose, they feed microorganisms. Microorganisms break them down into nutrients. The soil becomes darker, softer, richer, and the cycle continues. That's black soil. It's not about buying more, it's about copying nature. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people fail at composting because they don't understand what's really happening beneath the surface. They think it's just rotting. It's not rotting, it's controlled transformation. And if you understand this transformation, you can speed it up. Not in a year, not in 6 months, in 30 days. But before we talk about speed, we need to talk about the foundation. The balance that determines whether your pile becomes rich black soil or a smelly disaster. And that's exactly what we're going to uncover next. If compost sometimes turns into a wet, smelly mess, it's not because it's hard, it's because it's unbalanced. Making black soil in 30 days isn't about a secret ingredient. It's about understanding a simple principle, balance between greens and browns. No, think of it like cooking over fire. Too much dry wood, the fire struggles. Too much fresh grass, it smothers and smokes. But the right mix? Strong, steady heat. Your compost works the same way. Greens are wet, fresh, nitrogen-rich materials. These include vegetable scraps, fruit peels, coffee grounds, fresh grass clippings. They are soft, moist. They break down fast. They are the fuel for growth. Browns are dry, carbon-rich materials. These include dry leaves, cardboard, shredded paper, straw, small twigs. They are dry, lightweight, they break down slower. They create structure. When you combine them correctly, you create the perfect environment for microbes, the invisible workers that actually build black soil. And here's the rule that changes everything. For fast compost, aim for roughly 2 to 3 parts browns to 1 part greens. Why? Because greens feed microbes, but browns give them oxygen pockets and structure. Without browns, your pile becomes compacted. When it compacts, air disappears. When air disappears, oxygen disappears. And when oxygen disappears, bad smells appear. That smell, that's not soil forming. That's suffocation. Healthy compost smells earthy, fresh, like a forest after rain. If it smells sour, rotten, or sharp, it means it's too wet or too green. Add dry leaves, add shredded cardboard. Restore balance. Now, let's talk about speed. To build black soil in 30 days, you must do 3 things. First, chop everything smaller. Smaller pieces break down faster. Think about ice cubes versus crushed ice. Which melts first? The same principle applies. Second, keep it moist, not soaked. Your compost should feel like a wrung-out sponge. If it's dripping, it's too wet. If it's dusty, it's too dry. Third, turn it every few days. This introduces oxygen. Oxygen fuels the microbes, and microbes create heat. Heat is the signal you're doing it right. When your compost heats up, it means life is active inside. It's transforming scraps into soil. In hot compost systems, the internal temperature can rise dramatically. That heat accelerates decomposition. And here's the part most beginners miss. When you turn the pile, you're not just mixing, you're feeding the system. You're giving oxygen back to the microbes. You're preventing stagnation. You're controlling the process. In just a few days, if done correctly, you'll notice changes. The pile shrinks. Materials darken, shapes soften. What once looked like scraps begins to look uniform. That's transformation. But balance alone isn't enough. There's one more invisible ingredient that separates average compost from rich, deep black soil. It's something forests have naturally, and most home gardeners ignore. And that missing element is what we'll uncover next. You can mix greens and browns perfectly. You can turn the pile every few days. You can control moisture like a professional. And still, something may be missing. Because compost is not just chemistry, it is biology. Black soil is alive. Inside a healthy compost pile, billions of microscopic organisms are working non-stop. Bacteria, fungi, tiny decomposers you will never see. They are the true builders of soil. Without them, scraps just sit there. Think of it this way. If greens and browns are the ingredients, microbes are the cooks. No cooks, no meal. In natural forests, composting happens effortlessly because the system is already full of life. Fallen leaves hit living soil. Microorganisms instantly begin the breakdown process. Nothing is sterile. Nothing is isolated. But in many modern yards, the soil is tired, overworked, sometimes treated with chemicals, sometimes compacted, sometimes almost lifeless. So how do you activate your compost quickly? You introduce life. The simplest way is also the most powerful. Add a few shovels of healthy garden soil into your compost pile. That soil already contains microbial communities. When you mix it in, you inoculate your compost. You are seeding it with workers. Another powerful activator? Finished compost from a previous batch. Even a small amount acts like a starter culture. You can also use aged manure from herbivores. It is naturally rich in microbes and nutrients. But here's the deeper concept most people never realize. Microbes need oxygen. This is why turning the pile is so important. When oxygen is present, aerobic microbes dominate. These are the good decomposers. They work fast. They produce heat. They create rich, stable humus. Without oxygen, anaerobic microbes take over. They work slower. They create unpleasant smells. They produce unstable material. So every time you turn your pile, you are choosing which army does the work. You are choosing life over decay. Now let's talk about temperature. In a well-built compost pile, internal heat rises within days. That warmth is not random. It is the result of intense microbial activity. If your pile heats up, it means life is thriving. If it stays cold, it usually means one of 3 things: not enough nitrogen, too dry, or too small. Size matters. A pile that is too small cannot retain heat. Aim for at least a cubic meter of material if possible. This allows heat to build internally. But here is something even more important. The goal is not just fast breakdown. The goal is stable, dark, crumbly soil that smells like a forest floor. Black soil is different from half-finished compost. It holds water better. It holds nutrients longer. It feeds plants slowly and consistently. And when you hold finished black soil in your hands, it feels light, soft, almost like coffee grounds. That texture is the result of billions of tiny life forms reorganizing dead matter into living fertility. And once you understand that soil is alive, everything changes. Because then you stop asking, how do I get rid of waste? And you start asking, How do I grow life? But there is still one major mistake that can ruin everything, even when your compost looks good. And that mistake is what we will uncover next. You can do everything right and still fail. Not because the method doesn't work, but because small, almost invisible mistakes slowly sabotage the process. The first mistake is impatience. Composting is fast compared to nature, but it is not instant. Many people dig into their pile after 2 weeks, see recognizable scraps, and assume it is not working. So they give up. Or worse, they spread unfinished compost into their garden. Half-finished compost steals nitrogen from your soil as it continues breaking down. Plants begin to yellow, growth slows, and people think compost doesn't work. The truth is simple. Finished compost no longer looks like food scraps. It looks like soil, dark, crumbly, earthy smell, no strong odor, no visible pieces. If you can still clearly identify banana peels or leaves, it needs more time. The second mistake is imbalance. Too many greens create a slimy, smelly pile. Too many browns slow everything down. Remember the simple rule: roughly equal volume of greens and browns. Not exact, just balanced. If it smells bad, add browns. If it looks dry and inactive, add greens and a little water. Composting is not complicated. It is responsive, you observe, you adjust. The third mistake is letting the pile dry out completely. Microorganisms need moisture to move and feed. A bone-dry compost pile is like a city without water. Life slows, activity drops, but drowning the pile is just as harmful. If water fills all air pockets, oxygen disappears, anaerobic conditions take over. The solution is simple: squeeze test. Grab a handful, squeeze it. If water drips out, it is too wet. If it crumbles like dust, it is too dry. If it feels like a wrung-out sponge, it is perfect. The fourth mistake is adding the wrong materials. Avoid meat, dairy, oily foods, and heavily processed items in basic backyard compost. They attract pests and slow down decomposition. Avoid chemically treated wood or glossy paper. What you add determines what your soil becomes. Black soil is not just decomposed matter. It is safe, clean fertility. The fifth mistake is ignoring airflow. Many people build a pile and never turn it. Weeks pass. The center becomes compacted. Oxygen disappears. The pile smells sour. Turning the pile once a week dramatically speeds up decomposition. It introduces oxygen and redistributes moisture. But here is the deeper mistake modern gardeners make. They treat compost as waste management instead of soil building. When you see compost as a way to get rid of scraps, you rush. You cut corners. You lose patience. When you see compost as soil creation, everything changes. You become intentional. You observe texture, smell, temperature, structure. You begin to understand something powerful. You are not just recycling scraps, you are engineering fertility. And once you avoid these mistakes, something incredible happens. Your compost does not just break down, it transforms. But what makes black soil different from ordinary compost? Why does it feel richer, more powerful, almost magnetic in the garden? That final piece is what most people never learn. At some point, your pile stops looking like garbage. It stops looking like scraps. It stops looking like effort. And it starts looking like earth. Dark, soft, deep. This is the moment most people misunderstand. Because compost is not the final goal. Black soil is. Compost is the process. Black soil is the result of that process maturing. Fresh compost still contains active breakdown happening. It is warm, it is energetic, it is powerful, but it is not fully stable yet. Black soil, real, finished, mature compost is calm. It no longer heats up. It no longer smells sharp. It smells like the forest after rain. And that smell tells you something important. Life has reorganized the material into humus. Humus is the part that changes everything. You do not need to remember the scientific term. Just remember what it does. It holds water like a sponge. It holds nutrients like a battery. It releases those nutrients slowly over time, instead of all at once. That means your plants do not experience extreme highs and lows. They grow steadily, their roots expand deeper, their leaves become richer in color, and the soil itself becomes softer each season. here is what happens when you add black soil to your garden. Clay soil begins to loosen. Sandy soil begins to hold moisture. Compact soil becomes breathable. It is not just feeding plants, it is repairing the ground. And this is where most modern gardeners miss the bigger picture. They think they are growing vegetables, but what they are really growing is soil. Every time you compost, you reduce your dependence on store-bought bags. You reduce your costs, you reduce waste, but more importantly, you increase resilience. Because once you know how to create fertility from scraps, you are no longer dependent on supply chains. You are not dependent on trucks delivering soil. You are not dependent on seasonal shortages. You can generate life in your own backyard. And here is something powerful to understand. The first batch may take 30 days if conditions are ideal. But after that, it gets easier. Why? Because you now have a system. You have starter microbes. You have rhythm. You understand balance. Your second batch will be better. Your third batch will be richer. Over time, your soil becomes darker naturally. And something changes inside you too. You stop seeing waste. You start seeing resources. Kitchen scraps become future tomatoes. Dry leaves become future abundance. Grass clippings become future harvest. Black soil is not just about gardening. It is about transformation. Transformation of matter, transformation of mindset, transformation of dependency into autonomy. And when you stand in your garden, holding soil that you created from what others throw away, you feel something different. You feel capable. You feel connected. You feel in control of your food, at least in part. That is why this matters. Not because it saves money, but because it changes the relationship between you and the land beneath your feet. And once you experience that shift, you will never look at soil the same way again. What if the real mistake was never buying soil, but forgetting how it is made? Black soil is not a product. It is a process. It is patience mixed with scraps, air mixed with moisture, life mixed with time. In just 30 days, you can begin producing something most people pay for their entire lives. And the moment you realize you can create fertility from what you already have, something clicks. You are not just gardening. You are rebuilding a lost skill. If this opened your eyes in any way, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share in the comments what you are composting right now. Because the future of your garden does not start in a store. It starts in your hands.